Hello, and thank you for watching this regional forecast for the Canadian Prairie. I'm Andrew Pritchard, meteorologist with Nutrien Ag Solutions. We're talking about temperatures over the next 5 days. They'll lean warmer than average. We'll be dealing with some warmth here over the next 48 to 72 hours, but nothing really getting stuck here as we talk about a progressive pattern over the next 7 to 10 days. So that means a period of warmth here over the next 2 to 3 days, moderating back towards near average or slightly cooler than average temperatures as we get into the later part of the week, and then probably looking at a chance at another warm-up as we head into the weekend. So pretty typical pattern here, maybe leaning a little bit warmer than average, but dealing with those seasonally appropriate temperature fluctuations. Looking at another dry week across the Canadian Prairie, although we do have a midweek system that's going to bring the chance for some snow to areas generally north of Highway 16 around Wednesday and Thursday. Now, as we just look at the satellite picture, we're watching a big storm system, one that brought blizzard conditions to the northern plains of the United States and the upper Midwest over the holiday weekend here in the United States. Was Thanksgiving weekend, of course, not in Canada. But this system, again, forced southward by an area of high pressure over Canada, and so instead of lifting off into parts of Manitoba and Ontario, instead of doing that, this system was kind of forced off to the south. So here it sits now, spinning away over the east coast of the United States. We have another little upper level disturbance that's bringing some light snow to portions of Saskatchewan here around the Saskatoon area down toward Regina, and then some light snow flurries possibly down toward generally north of the Highway 1 corridor in southern Manitoba, but perhaps seeing some snowflakes in the Winnipeg area as we get into the later part of the day today. Looking at the snow map right now, current snow depth, looking like we've got the heaviest snow on the thickest snowpack as you head north of Highway 16 in this region here, generally between a trace and 10 centimeters of snow across the prairie here, except for in select areas. Now again, we'll watch this little upper level disturbance quickly make its way out of the region here that's bringing the light snow flurries to parts of Saskatchewan and Manitoba this morning, keeping it pretty dry until we get into mid to late week. We'll take a look at what this looks like here with the jet stream at 500 millibars, bringing it back in, focusing on the Canadian Prairie here. Mostly quiet. This is the little disturbance right here that is bringing some snow flurries into the region. This little trough right here, that little patch of stronger winds, the shortwave as we call it. And as we head into the middle part of the week, Tuesday and Wednesday, looking for ridging across the region. So this is what leads to the warmer temperatures. We get a subtle ridge across the region that allows warmer temperatures to build underneath that ridge, and we have to watch right here. This is the next system that comes in midweek. You see it starting to make its way in right here, this patch of stronger winds. That's your short wave. It comes blasting in Wednesday and Thursday, making quick work, already exiting now as we get into Thursday morning, exiting stage right over southern Manitoba. But this is the one that could bring just a quick coating of snow, generally north of Highway 16. As we head into the weekend, then Friday and Saturday, you're seeing ridging returning now across the Canadian Prairie, and this is what could bring another warm-up on the heels of that midweek storm system. So fluctuations in the temperatures as we head through the next week or so, but generally leaning toward the warmer side of things over the next 7 days. Now we can visualize that storm system here looking at the precipitation type forecast. Again, mostly quiet conditions here as we get the week started. Perhaps some snow flurries in northern Saskatchewan and far northern Manitoba as we get into late in the day on Tuesday. But then here comes the storm system as we get into Wednesday morning, making its way out of central Alberta, quickly racing now as we get into, so let's go. Let's time this out. Wednesday morning, 7 a.m., the area of low pressure is emerging over the Rockies in western Alberta. By 7 p.m., 6 p.m. on Wednesday evening, the area of low pressure already in central Saskatchewan, right here. And then as we get to 6 p.m., or midnight, Thursday night, and then into sunrise on Thursday morning, the area of low pressure right now over southern Manitoba. So taking it back once again, we go from 7 p.m. Wednesday, the area of low pressure right here, and then as we get into, this would be 7 a.m. Thursday, the area of low pressure over southern Manitoba. So making its way from 7 p.m. Wednesday to 7 a.m. Thursday, so a late Wednesday into Thursday morning. Again, just light coating of snow, generally north of Highway 16. I'm spending a lot of time talking about it right now because it's the only thing that there is to talk about in terms of precipitation over the next 5 days in the Canadian Prairie. But it's a very minor event here. Again, just taking a look at some of the ensemble forecasts here, the European in the top left, the GFS in the top right, and then the Canadian ensemble in the bottom. And again, as you look north of Highway 16, talking about on the high side here, anywhere from 4 to 6 centimeters of snow. On the light side, talking about maybe 2 or 3. Across the rest of the prairie here, not talking about much in the way of snow accumulation at all, unless you head all the way toward the west, toward the Rockies, perhaps picking up some snow here in the Calgary area as we head through the next 5 days. But otherwise, looking at a mostly dry week across the Canadian prairie. We can see that here looking at total liquid precipitation across the entire North American continent. Seeing that corridor possible off to the north, we'll be dealing with a lot of coastal precipitation and then some precipitation across the southern U.S. But as we talk about the dry corridor right now, or anywhere from the Canadian prairie into the Corn Belt here, looking at a dry week after what's been an active last 7 to 10 days. So again, just looking at the overall pattern, we're not getting blocked up or stuck in one thing or another. We have a rather progressive pattern across the Canadian prairie. Periods of ridging here are going to bring some warmer temperatures early in the week and then again later in the week, and then minor disturbances moving through the flow, bringing opportunities for snow, albeit this week generally north of the prairie. Looking at temperature trends then, here you see the warmth trending back toward near average midweek with the warm-up possible again as we get into late next week. Just timing this out once again. Your warmer colors on here looking at warmer than average temperatures, the blue shades where it would be cooler than average. As we get into Monday and Tuesday, again looking at the peak of the current warmth right now, and then we see a wave of near average to cooler temperatures come in following that midweek storm system, so cooling down Thursday and Friday. But as we get back into the weekend here, late Friday into Saturday and Sunday, perhaps bringing some warmth back into the Canadian prairie. Zooming in then, looking at total liquid precipitation across Alberta, keeping things generally north of Highway 16 here, perhaps the Calgary area picking up on some of that precipitation, but looking really at a mostly dry week across the prairie in southern Alberta, and the same thing then when we look at the snowfall forecast with perhaps a corridor north of Highway 16 of several centimeters of snow. Your high temperatures for the day today in the single digits across the prairie in southern Alberta, dropping below zero for many of us overnight tonight, although perhaps a couple degrees above zero in far southern Alberta, warming into the upper single digits in southern Alberta to the lower single digits toward the north on Tuesday. Overnight lows on Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, again in the single digits south to the single digits below zero off to the north. As we flip over to Saskatchewan and Manitoba then, looking at total liquid precipitation, again keeping things generally north of Highway 16 with that midweek storm system. Same thing when we look at the snow, generally dry across the prairie, although as you get toward Highway 16 along and north of there, perhaps picking up a couple of centimeters to maybe 5 or 6 on the high end. Your highs for the day on Monday then in the lower single digits across the Canadian prairie in Saskatchewan and Manitoba, dropping a few degrees below zero overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. Wednesday highs once again in the lower single digits, dropping below zero for the lows on Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, and then warming once again a few degrees above zero for the day on Wednesday, perhaps as much as 6 or 7 degrees above zero in southwestern Saskatchewan. As always, Eric Snodgrass has an in-depth look at the evolution of the next 1 to 2 weeks in our Monday morning ag forecast video that hit the site very early this morning, and I'll be back to talk about the Canadian prairie once again on Wednesday. Have a great day and a wonderful start to your week.